Hey guys, welcome back. This Troy Bilt Storm 2410 just came in for service. It's not very old. It has one of the newer Powermore engines and not a Tecumseh engine. The owner said that it sat over the summer with stale gas in it, and it went bad and it would not start this year. So definitely we're going to have a carb clean on our hands, and we're going to do routine basic maintenance, oil change, lube the chain, that sort of thing on this. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this belt cover. That needs to be removed to access one of the bolts to take off this engine cover so we can gain access to the carburetor. Since this is an import engine, these are metric bolts, so these are 10 millimeter. And we have two more up here. And we have a couple more back here in the back. Actually, still looks like we need to take more stuff off in order to access the carburetor down there. The owner said that he already dropped the carb bowl and tried to, see if he could clear out the bowl and, stuff from underneath, but he was not successful. So I think I have to take the carburetor off, and from the looks of it in there, it'd probably be a good idea to clean it up anyway. That looks kind of corroded down in there from salt spray or whatever. The throttle lever here is the plastic end piece on it is really on tight, so I'm using a punch and a small hammer to tap that off. There we go. Same thing with the choke knob. I gently pried it with a screwdriver until, it started coming off, but this thing was on really tight. So the plastic shroud actually wraps all the way around and goes underneath the starter, and this screw is actually holding the plastic on as well. So we need to take this out. I don't believe you have to take the starter off, but we might. I ended up removing it. It was just one screw to give this thing, clearance to get around this bracket and over the pull start. There are two 10 millimeter cap nuts holding this on, so I am going to take those off, and I think that should free up this entire plastic shroud. I was able to wiggle the cover off, and basically at this point the carburetor is more or less free to slide out. It's like a Honda. It is a Honda clone. So I'm going to go in and disconnect the primer line. There we go. And now I'm going to I should probably disconnect the fuel line, actually. No fuel in it. Alright, let's disconnect the spring, governor spring. Make sure not to lose that. And once we slide this forward, this should be able to pop right out like that. Perfect. And we have ourselves one carb with a loose bowl. The outside of this carburetor is about as clean as it's going to get. Everything you see that's left, all of this white stuff, is corrosion. This happens because they use a lot of salt in this area, and a lot of the snow, especially on sidewalks and stuff near the street, if you don't get it before the plow comes, it's going to be, full of salt. Let's go back and remove that bowl and see what's in here. Oh, that's pretty bad in there. That's pretty corroded. Definitely water got into this carburetor bowl. So this is the float pin. This one came out. I didn't need to use my punch for that. And here is the float. The seat down there doesn't look too terrible. I don't know if you can see it. Alright, so I'm going to remove this needle. This needle is on a spring, so you want to hold that spring and not lose that. This needle actually looks like the sealing surface is on the needle. The tip looks like it's rubber, and so that means the seat inside the carburetor is probably going to be brass or something like that. I'm going to see if I can get the emulsion tube out. That's the this brass tube right in there. It should just pop. There it goes. There it is. Here's the emulsion tube, and you want to make sure that every single one of these holes is clear. And I don't, a couple of them look like they're partially clogged. So I'm just going around inside with some 220 grit sandpaper, trying my best to knock down all of the big stuff and get all of that out. That's about as good as it's going to get. I am not going to do anything to the outside because I don't want to take off whatever coating is left out here. But the inside, you want to get most of that rust out because that can, break off and reclog the jets. Let's look at this emulsion tube now. So what you want to do is you want to take a wire, and you want a very thin wire, and you want to poke each of these holes out and make sure that they are clear. Now if the carburetor is really dirty and has a lot of crust on it, you may want to use a fine steel wire, but for this carburetor it seems like these holes are generally clearish, so I'm just using a copper wire here. Let me poke at those for a while and I will bring you back. Alright, it was kind of hard to poke and have you watch at the same time. You're kind of in my way, but I cleaned them all out. I poked them all out. They are pretty clean now. Now I'm just going to spray it out with carb cleaner, and that'll be it for the emulsion tube. There. You see that? How it sprays like that? That means they're clear. I'm going to take an air gun and blow this out. All clean. And one of the ways you can check, you can see through the, and there you go, you can see through the holes. You should be able to see straight through to the other side on all of them. I think what we need to do now is we need to take this idle circuit apart in there. This is the idle stop screw right here, and this basically sets the idle speed of the machine. And this one is backed out pretty far, and so it's like one thread out or so. You have to remember that because you got to take that out in order to get this idle cover off of here. Now you should be able to pry this thing out. There we go. Like that. And that gives you access to the idle circuit down there. So inside here there is a small jet as well. So you want to take your wire and you can stick it up. See how it comes through? And you can poke out that passage. Make sure it's clear. Okay, let's clean the carburetor now. So you want to clean out the idle circuit. You basically want to clean out all the passages, fuel and air, that you can find in here. So obviously the idle circuit area in there. There are a couple of, I believe most of these are air passages through here. You want to clean those out, clean out the emulsion tube area, the butterflies, clean those off. Let me see if I can show you guys something here. In the idle circuit, there is a passageway that goes down that brings up fuel, and there is a passageway there that's a vent to the front of the carburetor there, and then there is a passageway on the other side there. Focus there, and that goes to in here. You see those 4 or so little tiny holes? That's where the fuel comes in for the idle circuit. So you definitely want to try and get your carb cleaner through there and to come out those holes on, in the carburetor body. I've sprayed out all the passages and the idle circuit, and it's time to put this thing back together. All right. Sounds good. The float seems to be free. Let's check and make sure it's working. You can check to make sure that the float is working properly. You can put a piece of fuel hose on it, and when it's in the down position like this, if you blow on the hose, you should be able to blow air through it. I can blow air through it, and when you turn it upside down, like that, you should not be able to blow through it. The float should be in the closed position, and the needle and seat should be blocking fuel flow. I cannot blow through that. So this carb seems to be working properly, and it's all put back together, so it's time to go put it back on the machine. I moved this outside. It is a really nice February day. It is about 70 degrees and it's only noon. So sorry about the sun, but I am going to take this opportunity to enjoy this weather. Nothing leaking, that's a good sign. Will it prime? Sounds like it. Full choke. Throttle. Flooding. Okay, after I was messing around with it and it wouldn't start and it was flooding and spraying gas everywhere, it dawned on me what the problem was. I totally missed it when I was cleaning the carburetor. I didn't even see it. It's all my fault. I should have noticed it. let me get this carburetor off and I will show you what I am talking about. I have the carburetor off now. Let me show you what I am talking about. Now, when I pull this bowl off, actually you can even see it now. What do you see in there? The emulsion tube. There is no jet. Well, that'll make it run rough. So, see, the emulsion tube comes right out. The jet that screws up in there is missing. The customer, he told me that he took this carburetor apart himself and attempted to clean it and was unsuccessful. I contacted him and asked, sent a picture of what it looks like, and he says he remembers the part but cannot find it. So he ordered a new carburetor, and that is on its way. It's been a while since I've taken apart a Honda carburetor or a Honda clone carburetor, and that's why I missed it. Lately I've been working on mostly actually Tecumseh carburetors on snowblowers, the Snow King carburetors, and those the jet is built into the bowl nut. They don't have a jet that screws up in there, and so it didn't even occur to me at the time. But when it started flooding and shooting gas out the muffler, I thought about it for a few minutes and then it dawned on me. But since it wasn't there when I took the carburetor apart for the first time, I just didn't think about it, so my mistake. So the customer ordered a brand new aftermarket carburetor, and let's compare them. They pretty much look the same. I notice a difference in this idle adjustment screw, but nothing major. Yeah, I'd say they're pretty much the same, at least externally as far as I can tell. What I am going to do is I am going to adjust the idle screw on this and back it out just a little bit to make it the same as the old one, and then we can start reassembling. Try it again. I let it run out of gas, and it seems like now that it's warm, it's a good time to change the oil. Let's see if I can not make a mess. You may have seen on the previous video, this is the exact same spot where that Yard King 27-inch snowblower made a mess all over the floor. So, let's see if we can avoid a repeat of that. Oh. Alright guys, I think I'm going to call this video right now. It's getting kind of long and there's still a lot of things left to do on this snowblower. With that, I'd like to thank you for joining me on this video. And if you like these videos, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button that you see in the lower right hand corner. And I will see you on part 2.